Claudius Templesmith's voice booms down from overhead, congratulating the 6 of us who remain. But he is not inviting us to a feast. He's saying something very confusing. There's been a rule change in the games. A rule change? That in itself is mind-bending, since we don't really have any rules to speak of except don't step off your circle for 60 seconds, and the unspoken rule about not eating one another. Under the new rule, both tributes from the same district will be declared winners if they are the last 2 alive. Claudius pauses, as if he knows we're not getting it, and repeats the change again. The news sinks in. 2 tributes can win this year, if they're from the same district. Both can live. Both of us can live. Before I can stop myself, I call out Peeta's name. Part 3. The Victor. Chapter 19. I clap my hands over my mouth, but the sound has already escaped. The sky goes black and I hear a chorus of frogs begin to sing. Stupid! I tell myself. What a stupid thing to do! I wait, frozen, for the woods to come alive with assailants. And then I remember there's almost no one left. Peeta, who's been wounded, is now my ally. Whatever doubts I've had about him dissipate, because if either of us took the other's life now, we'd be pariahs when we returned to District 12. In fact, I know if I was watching, I'd loathe any tribute who didn't immediately ally with our district partner. Besides, it just makes sense to protect one another. And in my case, being one of the star-crossed lovers from District 12, it's an absolute requirement if I want any more help from sympathetic sponsors. The star-crossed lovers. Peeta must have been playing that angle all along. Why else would the game makers have made this unprecedented change in the rules? For 2 tributes to have a shot at winning, our romance must be so popular with the audience that condemning it would jeopardize the success of the games. No thanks to me. All I've done is manage to not kill Peeta. Whatever he's done in the arena, he must have the audience convinced it was to keep me alive. Shaking his head to keep me from running to the cornucopia, fighting Cato to let me escape. Even hooking up with the careers must have been a move to protect me. Peeta, it turns out, has never been a danger to me. The thought makes me smile. I drop my hands and hold my face up to the moonlight, so the cameras can be sure to catch it. So, who is there left to be afraid of? Foxface? The boy tribute from her district is dead. She's operating alone at night, and her strategy has been to evade, not attack. I don't really think that, even if she heard my voice, she'd do anything but hope someone else would kill me. Then there's Thresh. All right, he's a distinct threat, but I haven't seen him, not once, since the games began. I think about how Foxface grew alarmed when she heard a sound at the side of the explosion. But she didn't turn to the woods. She turned to whatever lies across from it, to that area of the arena that drops off into I don't know what. I feel almost certain that the person she ran from was Thresh, and that is his domain. He'd never have heard me from there, and even if he did, I'm up too high for someone his size to reach. So that leaves Cato and the girl from District 2, who are now surely celebrating this new rule. They're the only ones left who'll benefit from this besides Peeta and myself. Do I run from them now, on the chance they heard me call Peeta's name? No, I think, let them come. Let them come with their night vision glasses and their heavy, branch-breaking bodies, right into the range of my arrows. But I know they won't. If they didn't come in daylight to my fire, they won't risk what could be another trap at night. When they come, it will be on their own terms, not because I've let them know of my whereabouts. Stay put and get some sleep, Katniss, I instruct myself, although I wish I could start tracking Peeta now. Tomorrow, you'll find him. I do sleep, but in the morning I'm extra cautious, thinking that while the careers might hesitate to attack me in a tree, they're completely capable of setting an ambush for me. I make sure to fully prepare myself for the day, eating a big breakfast, securing my pack, readying my weapons, before I descend. But all seems peaceful and undisturbed on the ground. Today, I'll have to be scrupulously careful. The careers will know I'm trying to locate PETA. They may well want to wait until I do before they move in. If he's as badly wounded as Cato thinks, I'd be in a position of having to defend us both without any assistance. But if he's that incapacitated, how has he managed to stay alive? And how on earth will I find him? I try to think of anything PETA ever said that might give me an indication as to where he's hiding out, but nothing rings a bell. So I go back to the last moment I saw him sparkling in the sunlight, yelling at me to run. Then Cato appeared, his sword drawn, and after I was gone he wounded PETA. But how did PETA get away? Maybe he'd held out better against the trackerjacker poison than Cato. Maybe that was the variable that allowed him to escape. But he'd been stung too. How far could he have gotten, stabbed and filled with venom? And how has he stayed alive all these days since? If the wound and the stingers haven't killed him, surely thirst would have taken him by now. And that's when I get my first clue to his whereabouts. He couldn't have survived without water. I know that from my first few days here. He must be hidden somewhere near a source. There's the lake, but I find that unlikely option since it's so close to the career's base camp. A few spring-fed pools, but you're really a sitting duck at one of those. And the stream, the one that leads from the camp ruin I made, all the way down near the lake and beyond. If he stuck to the stream, he could change his location and always be near water. He could walk in the current and erase any tracks. He might even be able to get a fish or two. Well, it's a place to start anyway. To confuse my enemies, I start a fire with plenty of green wood. Even if they think it's a ruse, I hope they'll decide I'm hidden somewhere near it, while in reality, I'll be tracking PETA. The sun burns off the morning haze almost immediately, and I can tell the day will be hotter than usual. The water's cool and pleasant on my bare feet as I head downstream. I'm tempted to call out PETA's name as I go, but decide against it. I will have to find him with my eyes and one good ear, or he will have to find me. But he'll know I'll be looking, right? He won't have so low an opinion of me as to think I'd ignore the new rule and keep to myself, would he? He's very hard to predict, which might be interesting under different circumstances, but at the moment only provides an extra obstacle. It doesn't take long to reach the spot where I peeled off to go to the careers camp. There's been no sign of PETA, but this doesn't surprise me. I've been up and down the stretch 3 times since the trackerjacker incident. If he were nearby, surely I'd have some suspicion of it. The stream begins to curve to the left into a part of the woods that's new to me. Muddy banks covered in tangled water plants lead to large rocks that increase in size until I begin to feel somewhat trapped. It would be no small matter to escape the stream now, fighting off Cato or Thresh as I climbed over this rocky terrain. In fact, I've just about decided I'm on the wrong track entirely, that a wounded boy would be unable to navigate to and getting to and from this water source, when I see the bloody streak going down the curve of a boulder. It's long dried now, but the smeary lines running side to side suggest someone, who perhaps was not fully in control of their mental facilities, tried to wipe it away. Hugging the rocks, I move slowly in the direction of the blood, searching for him. I find a few more bloodstains, one with a few threads of fabric glued to it, but no sign of life. I break down and say his name in a hushed voice. PETA! PETA! Then a mockingjay lands on a scruffy tree and begins to mimic my tones, so I stop. I give up and climb back down to the stream, thinking, he must have moved on, somewhere farther down. My foot has just broken the surface of the water when I hear a voice. You here to finish me off, sweetheart? I whip around. It's come from the left, so I can't pick it up very well, and the voice was hoarse and weak. Still, it must have been PETA. Who else in the arena would call me sweetheart? My eyes peruse the bank, but there's nothing. Just mud, the plants, the base of the rocks. PETA, I whisper. Where are you? There's no answer. Could I just have imagined it? No, I'm certain it was real, and very close at hand, too. PETA? I creep along the bank. Well, don't step on me. I jump back. His voice was right under my feet. Still there's nothing. Then his eyes open, unmistakably blue in the brown mud and green leaves. I gasp and am rewarded with a hint of white teeth as he laughs. It's the final word in camouflage. Forget chucking weights around. Peter should have gone into his private session with the game makers and painted himself into a tree, or a boulder, or a muddy bank full of weeds. Close your eyes again, I order. He does, and his mouth too, and completely disappears. Most of what I judge to be his body is actually under a layer of mud and plants. His face and arms are so artfully disguised as to be invisible. I kneel beside him. I guess all those hours decorating cakes paid off. Peter smiles. Yes, frosting, the final defense of the dying. You're not going to die, I tell him firmly. Says who? His voice is so ragged. Says me. We're on the same team now, you know, I tell him. His eyes open. So I've heard. Nice of you to find what's left of me. I pull out my water bottle and give him a drink. Did Cato cut you? I ask. Left leg, up high, he answers. Let's get you in the stream. Wash you off so I can see what kind of wounds you got, I say. Lean down a minute first, he says. Need to tell you something. I lean over and put my good ear to his lips, which tickle as he whispers, Remember, we're madly in love, so it's all right to kiss me any time you feel like it. I jerk my head back, but end up laughing. Thanks, I'll keep it in mind. At least he's still able to joke around. But when I start to help him to the stream, all the levity disappears. It's only 2 feet away. How hard can it be? Very hard when I realize he's unable to move an inch on his own. He's so weak that the best he can do is not resist. I try to drag him, but despite the fact that I know he's doing all he can to keep quiet, sharp cries of pain escape him. The mud and plants seem to have imprisoned him, and I finally have to give a gigantic tug to break him from their clutches. He's still 2 feet from the water, lying there, teeth gritted, tears cutting trails in the dirt on his face. Look, Peter, I'm going to roll you into the stream. It's very shallow here, okay? I say. Excellent, he says. I crouch down beside him. No matter what happens, I tell myself, don't stop until he's in the water. On 3, I say. 1, 2, 3. I can only manage one full roll before I have to stop because of the horrible sound he's making. Now he's on the edge of the stream. Maybe this is better anyway. Okay, change of plans. I'm not going to put you all the way in, I tell him. Besides, if I get him in, who knows if I'd ever be able to get him out. No more rolling, he asks. That's all done. Let's get you cleaned up. Keep an eye on the woods for me, okay? I say. It's hard to know where to start. He's so caked with mud and matted leaves. I can't even see his clothes. If he's wearing clothes. The thought makes me hesitate for a moment, but then I plunge in. Naked bodies are no deal in the arena, right? I've got 2 water bottles in Rue's water skin. I prop them up against the rocks in the stream, so that 2 are always filling while I pour the 3rd over Peter's body. It takes a while, but I finally get rid of enough mud to find his clothes. I gently unzip his jacket, unbutton his shirt, and ease them off of him. His undershirt is so plastered into his wounds I have to cut it away with my knife and drench him again to work it loose. He's badly bruised, with a long burn across his chest and 4 trackerjacker stings, if you count the one under his ear. But I feel a bit better. This much I can fix. I decide to take care of his upper body first, to elevate some of the pain, before I tackle whatever damage Cato did to his leg. Since treating his wound seems pointless when he's lying in what's become a mud puddle, I manage to prop him against a boulder. He sits there, uncomplaining, while I wash away all the traces of dirt from his hair and skin. His flesh is very pale in the sunlight, and he no longer looks strong and stocky. I have to dig the stingers out of his trackerjacker lumps, which cause him to wince, but the minute I apply the leaves, he sighs in relief. While he dries in the sun, I wash his filthy shirt and jacket and spread them over the boulders. Then I apply the burn cream to his chest. This is when I notice how hot his skin is becoming.